You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and bless those who curse you. Do good to those who hate you. Pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. Sons in the New King James Version. I think if they were doing it today, they would make it children. Um, so, what has baffled some interpreters and baffles us every once in a while is whereas we all know you shall not kill and you shall not commit adultery, and we even know the writing from Deuteronomy on the divorce, and we know writings in the Hebrew Scriptures about oaths. But it's hard, hard, hard. You can search all of Scripture and not find words that resemble love your neighbor and hate your enemy. Right? The hate your enemy part is not there. Now there are places in the Hebrew Scriptures, our Old Testament, where people hate their enemy and are commended for it, but it's never given as a way of commanding. So where does this come from? Well, it happens to come, at least at one of the sources, happens to be that blessed Essene community that we've been talking about, that Philo so loved and Josephus so loved as great representatives of the best in Judaism. Let's see what they say. This is the I'm gonna come back to this part because I want to isolate the first part, but I'll circle back to for he makes his sun rise. Um, this is a writing from the community rule of the Essene community. It's a Dead Sea Scrolls piece. It gives us a great glimpse of what was important to them. And some of the things you'll find have great overlap with even with the Sermon on the Mount. But take a look at this. The master will teach the saints. This is the leader of the community, um, who is sort of a stand-in for the divine presence. The master will teach the saints to live according to the book of the community rule, that they may seek God with a whole heart and soul, and do what is good and right before him, as he commanded by the hand of Moses and all his servants the prophets, that they may love all that he has chosen and hate all that he has rejected, that they may abstain from all evil and hold fast to all good, that they may practice truth, righteousness, and justice upon earth, and no longer stubbornly follow a sinful heart and lustful eyes, committing all manner of evil. He will admit into the covenant of grace all those who have freely devoted themselves to the observance of God's precepts, that they may be joined to the counsel of God and may live perfectly before him in accordance with all that has been revealed concerning the appointed times, and that they may love all the sons of light, each according to his lot in God's design, and hate all the sons of darkness, each according to his guilt in God's vengeance. So if you're looking for a place that Jesus may be quoting, the Essene ethic of loving the insider and hating the outsider, loving the children of light and hating the children of darkness. That seems to be at least part of what he might be drawing on when he says, you have heard it said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. Because it sounds pretty consonant with what I just read to you. And so, in this context, the group that Josephus and Philo advertise as the best in Judaism, the purest of all, is very sectarian, very insider loving, outsider, not just rejecting, outsider hating, right? The word hate is used in the last part of this scene from the community rule. So it matters that Jesus, whom, we've been tracking what people thought, how people would have categorized Jesus. And we've seen that he interacts with rabbis and he interacts with people who would think that he might be a revolutionary. He also says things that make him sound like a Qumran Essene sometimes. He says, don't do oaths, don't speak oaths, and they say that. He says things about what righteousness looked like that they say. And so Jesus might be looking like them, and then suddenly He says, love your neighbor and love your enemy. And they say, wait a second, this guy's not an Essene because we know them better than this, right? So in that world where people are sizing him up, he kind of in the old world it would have been he's scratched the needle across the album. He's stopped the action and done something opposite of what they do. I say to you, love your enemy and pray for your persecutor. And then it goes on. For God makes his sunrise. You're going to become children of God. For he makes his sunrise on the evil and the good, and brings rain on the just and the unjust. For if you love those who love you, what reward have you? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet your brethren only, what do you do more than others? Don't even the tax collectors do the same? And so in his book, my Dr. Fodder, my main professor in graduate school was Wayne Meeks, and in his book called "The Origins of Christian Morality," he he notices that Jesus often and Paul often say, "This is how we behave." There are others who don't behave this way, and he distinguishes the Christian teaching from other ways of being. Here, Jesus, who spent a lot of time recruiting and loving uh, tax collectors and sinners, um, here he says, this is not the behavior this is a behavior that even sinners and tax collectors, they love their neighbor and hate their enemy. God is calling you to be more godlike and love your enemy and pray for your persecutor, right? So he's distinguishing himself from the Essenes. He's calling them to have a better comparative than what's on the streets.